In this video, I'm going to show you about the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate. Now, Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate is a checkmate where the Queen is right next to the King, checking the King, and the King cannot escape because all the spaces around him are surrounded by the Queen, and the Queen cannot be captured by the King because he will still be in check by a piece guarding the Queen. So remember, a king cannot capture a piece that is guarded. So this is the most basic checkmate that I know, and one of my favorite checkmates because it's called the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate. And again, the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate is when the Queen is right next to the King and the King cannot get out of check. Remember, the King cannot capture this Queen because the Queen is guarded. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the guard in order to go in for the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate. Okay, so let's look at this position. So the steps that you need to take for the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate is setting up the guard. We have to make sure the guard, in this position, we only have one piece available to be the guard. We have to get the guard ready and set up to help the Queen checkmate the Black King over here. Now, let's look at information on the chessboard. Let's look at everything that we know. We know that the Black King cannot go past the 7th row because the Queen is locking him up on this row. So the King cannot go here and cannot go here. So he cannot escape this way. And the next move that the Black King has to move is right here. So this, we know for sure that the Black King has to move here. So let's look at this. Let's set up the guard first. Step 1, set the guard up. So I'm going to take this bishop all the way over here, and I'm going to bring this bishop over here to d5. Now the bishop is now checking the King, and the King cannot, he must walk away. He must get out of check. He cannot go to the 7th row. He cannot go to a7 or b7 because the Queen right here is checking him. So he won't be able to walk here. So then he has to walk here. Now, after we set up the guard, we must then make sure that there's no other piece that can capture the Queen whenever it's going in for the Bear Hug Checkmate. So does Black have any other pieces on the board to even stop this Bear Hug Checkmate? Well, it looks like no. Black does not have any other pieces, and now we're going to take the White Queen and put it at b7. It is now check. Question number 1, is the King in check? Yes, the King cannot go away here, 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 or here, or the King cannot capture the Queen because it is guarded. It is guarded by this bishop right here. In this position, I want to show you a checkmate that can be done in 2 moves. Now we're going to still continue with the Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate. This is where the Queen has to still be right next to the King, but the Queen has to be guarded by another piece, another white piece on the board. If the Queen does decide to come here and try to checkmate the King in a Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate, it won't be able to because the Black King can still escape by capturing the Queen off the board. So she needs a guard. She needs some help. She needs a friend. A Queen cannot just come in and checkmate the King by himself if she decides to go right next to him. So we want to find a way to bring a guard into play. In this position, we have here a rook, and we're going to use the rook as a guard in this position. Now, the most common mistakes that I've been seeing is people moving the rook here to check the Black King, and the Black King could just still run away anywhere. He could just still run away. He might just run away here. Now, if the Queen decides to come here and tries to do a Queen's Bear Hug Checkmate to the Black King, the Black King can still escape by capturing the Queen because the rook is only protecting everything on the 2nd row. Is only protecting everything on this row right here. So we have to find a way to line the rook up with the Queen so that it can checkmate the black king right here. We want to line the rook up with the queen so that I could checkmate the black king right here. So let's see what happens if we decide to line the queen up with a rook right here on this row. So we line it up right here, even though if the queen is protected all the way over here and is trying to check the king. So we see that the rook is protecting the queen and the queen is trying to check the king can still run away. So that is more than 2 moves. We said that we could checkmate the black king in 2 moves. Let's look at the second way that we can line up the rook with the queen. So the first way we tried doing this. Now the second way that we're going to try to find a way to line the queen up is by following her on this row, this entire file right here. So I'm going to line up my rook with the queen on this row. Now, even if the black king runs away anywhere, he could just choose to run away to A1 or A3. The next following move will be a checkmate, because even though if the king goes all the way over here, you can move the queen right here to B2, and it is checking the king, and it is guarded by a rook for the queen's bear hug checkmate. The black king cannot capture this queen because it is guarded. It is guarded by this rook right here. In this last position, I'm going to show you a queen's bear hug checkmate using a knight as the guard. Now let's look at the information that we have on the board. We have the black king trapped all the way over here in this corner, and the white queen blocking this entire second row. So that means the black king cannot walk on the second row or run away this way, because the queen has that entire row guarded. So how can we set up the queen's bear hug checkmate and checkmate the king in the next move? So we know that the black king will have to move here. We know that the black king has to move here. Now if I move my king closer, it will become a tie, because the black king cannot move to any square without being in check, and he's not in check. So I am not moving the king as my guard for this one. I will use the knight as my guard. So step number 1, we're going to set up the guard. So the knight, he has to go to a certain square to set up for a queen's bear hug checkmate. Let's look at it again. If we come in and try to checkmate the black king without a guard, the black king will only capture the queen out of the picture. So we're going to see this. We're going to set up the knight in position. The most common mistake that I've seen people do is taking the knight, moving 1, 2, slide to the side, and checking the king. 1, 2, slide to the side again. And checking the king, and the king, all he has to do is just run away. He can now have an opportunity to run away because knight is now blocking the attacking line of the queen. Now, the queen's job was to lock the king in there until she has to come in for the queen's bear hug checkmate. But since you move the knight right here, the king is now open to run away. So even though if you move this out of the picture, you just move this up here, now the locking position of the black king, he is now escaping out into the middle of the board or even to this side. Whereas you could win in 2 moves. You can win in 2 moves. So let's set up the knight. Step number 1, let's set the guard up. Do you know where you're supposed to move this knight to set the guard up? If you said knight to c4, then you are correct, because the knight is now attacking. 1, 2, slide to the side. It is now setting up the queen for the queen's bear hug checkmate in this position. Black has to move the king right here. Black has to move right there. And the next move that you have to make in order to do the final queen's bear hug checkmate is by moving the queen to b2. The black king cannot run away here, 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 or here. And the black king cannot capture the queen because she is guarded by this knight right here. And I hope that this will help you to set up your future queen's bear hug checkmates using bishops, using knights, using pawns, or even using a king to set up for a future queen's bear hug check.